that success does not mean taking, that success can mean truly growing and giving. That money, resources, and opportunity are things to be shared. They're things that are tools for a quality of life that you're able to enhance for people and for yourself and your family. Pretty beautiful thing. My father that day decided what to do was, if I failed and I've been worthless to my family, I must leave. And he did. And to me, it was the worst day of my life. I'll never forget it. I loved him more than anything. I had 4 fathers. He's the one I finally got attached to. I was like, Mom, I'm confused. But then finally, years later, I got the benefit of it, because out of all those experiences and all that pain, that day I made 3 different decisions. First decision is I just decided to focus on something different than him, and that's the power we have. We get to decide what to focus on. And my decision, there's food, what a concept. Pretty cool. But the most powerful thing to change my life was meaning. I said, what does this mean? Because my father had always said, my mother had always said, nobody gives a shit. Nobody cares. Don't care about anybody, they don't care about you. And that day I had physical evidence. Those you bringing food, I want you to know that's not just food. That's called love for someone. That's called hope for someone. That's called surprise for someone. And that day for me, I went, strangers care. And so I started caring about strangers. And I decided someday I'm gonna do the same. So when I was 17, I've had 2 families. It was like one of the most incredible experiences of my life. I went to the grocery store, I was all excited, saved up all my money, went to the manager and said, I want to feed 2 families, this is what I'm doing, it's not for me, give me a discount. And he gave me 10%. And I thought, cheap bastard. But I went out and I delivered this food, and ironically, I called this church and I asked in the barrio, a particular place, where are some families in need? They gave me 2 names. I put on t-shirt and jeans. I wasn't going to be acknowledged. I also didn't want somebody to be insulted, because I saw what happened to my father. And I wrote a note, said, this is a note from a friend. And I said, I just want you to know, we know you're having difficult times. Everyone does at times. And I want you to have a beautiful Thanksgiving. And please feel loved, take care of your family. And someday, if you can, do well enough to do this for one other family and pass it on. But love a friend. And I had it written in Spanish as well. And I'll never forget, first place I pull up, in this rotten old van, stick shift van, that I borrowed from a buddy of mine, with all these bags of food. And I went into this place and got out, pulled up this little tiny building, really tiny, knocked on the door. And when I knocked on the door, this little woman opened the door. It was probably half my size, which is not hard. I'm 6'7", so she's like 5'2". And she looked up at me like this, and she saw the groceries, and she screamed. And she started grabbing my head and pulled it down and kissed me. I was like, no, 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 delivery boy, delivery boy. And she goes, no, God gift, God gift, God gift. And she didn't speak English, so I handed her the note. She read the note, she crying again, started trying to kiss me again. I said, no, no. She goes, God gift, God gift. So I pointed, where do I put this? In this tiny little room. There's a table there. I put the food down, and I went over to get some more groceries. And when I did, 4 children come running out. And one hits my leg and wouldn't let go. And when they saw the pumpkin pie, it was over. And it was one of the most emotional experiences of my life, because first of all, this little boy just wouldn't let go. And I delivered this food, and this woman was crying and smiling. And I stayed there just to take it in for a few minutes, seeing them all. It was like going back in time. And then as I went to go leave, I couldn't speak Spanish, and she was like trying to say something in Spanish. I didn't know what to say, and it was Thanksgiving, so I said, Feliz Navidad. It's like, I heard the song, okay? And she laughed and laughed. She's crying and laughing. One of the more beautiful experiences of life, isn't it? When you can have both those experiences in your body simultaneously. And I remember I got in the van, and all the 4 kids were sitting on the bench here, and she's standing there waving, and I pulled in, go in reverse, and I looked in the mirror, and as I looked in the mirror, I saw these kids there, and I saw Mom crying and smiling still, and then I lost it. I started crying uncontrollably. And I'm like trying to put the thing in gear, through tears come through my eyes, and I thought to myself, what? I mean, this is a beautiful thing, why am I crying? And then I realized what a gift that day was. I realized that my worst day of my life was my best day. And my goal for you, if you don't already have it, my guess is you've already done it, knowing where you are in your world today, but maybe your second worst day, it's time to make a best day. Because out of every tragedy, out of every pain, it only gets healed when we find a deeper meaning, when we find there's a higher purpose in it. And I realized I wouldn't have been there that day. I wouldn't have that hunger to help somebody else if I hadn't had the hunger in my own soul at one point missing. So it's very personal to me. And I want to thank all of you that made the contributions. And I told Mark, and I've announced that I'm going to match the 1,000,000 meals if you hit it. And I'm sure as hell expecting that you will. And so we'll get 2 million. And when I told that, then Mark said, I'll match that. We're going to do 3 million here. So that's the way to play the game, I think. Just raise the game together. And so I'm excited about what that possibility is. And I'm personally also, November 18th, I'm going to feed 50 million people. I've fed 42 million in my life. And the reason I tell you this, and I'll get off the soapbox, but I want you to just think about what's going to create meaning for you. Because money by itself won't do it. But impact will. And impact can be with your own child, spending more time with it. It doesn't have to be anything to do with contribution in any other way. You can contribute to your own family. But contribution is what makes us feel fully alive. And I'm doing that because, I don't know if you're aware of it, but a year ago, last summer, Congress cut the budget for what was traditionally called food stamps by $8.7 billion. By the way, $8.7 billion is the equivalent of every family they support going without for food for 1 week a month for 12 months out of the year. And all the nonprofits are trying to support that. So I'm partnering with Feeding America, and I started writing this book, and I thought, I'm going to donate all the profits of the book. I'll feed 10 million people. And then I was like, that's not enough. And I thought, well, I'll get matching donations, and I'll raise the bar, I'll get 20 million. And as time has gone by, I finally decided I'm going to do 50 million myself, and I'm looking to raise 100 million, and that's in addition to the million I'm doing here. That's not part of it. So if you want to help, you're welcome to, and Feeding America is my partner, and we're working for matching funds to get to 100 million people. I'm already to 67 million just with some friends of mine before we even launch it. But it's a goal, and it's, why do we do it? I don't ask you to do it because it's a heavy or something. I do it because you can. Do it because it's fun. Do it because research shows that when it comes to money, buying things will never make you happy. Never. Doesn't mean you shouldn't have some nice things. I have some nice things, I'm sure you do too. But it's not going to give you happiness. Buying experiences can make you happy, by the way. People who say money doesn't matter, they don't know where to shop. Because there's some experiences you can buy that are extraordinary. Who's got some experiences, some trips, some things you've done with family or friends that will live with you for years? Who knows what I'm talking about here, right? Those things, that money can be a really valuable tool there. If you can find enough add value and have money and do those experiences, how cool. I'll tell you what else money research shows will do. People always say money doesn't matter once you get to a certain level. No, it matters that you can spend $5 a month and have more emotional juice, and it can be measured all the way down into your saliva by hormonal changes. You want to use money, not let money use you. And so another thing that'll do it is getting rid of drudgeries. Who here loves to pay for shit you don't want to do? Right? Cleaning the toilet. Who likes to have someone else be able to do that if at all possible, right? Because once you do that, those drudgeries are gone. What do you get to do? You have time. And with time, you can spend more time with your passions, the things that matter for you that you can do in the world, that share in the world. And the third thing that gives people the most enjoyment out of money, just so you know, is actually giving it away. And nobody believes that until you do it. Now, if you don't give a dime out of a dollar, you're not going to give 100 million out of a billion ever.